It's great to have you as the first guest on Cypherpunks on Zoom, drinking coffee. Do you have your coffee with you?
Yeah, thanks for the coffee,
No
Mon.
worries. Okay, I can't see it, I think, because your little avatar, man. Well, great. Welcome, and let's get started. It's nice to have you. I like your Loom.ai, your avatar. So obviously this is
Oh yeah,
this
very
actually
fitting. Digital currency, digital avatar.
your pseudo face, pseudonym, got the whole thing. I love it. Um, so yeah, I guess let's start out by talking about how you got into crypto.
Yeah, so I can give you the rundown of my experience, like getting into the crypto world. So, like 2011 is when I first heard about it. I think it was really popular in like IRC chat rooms at like the University Commons where I was at, like in the comp sci department. But at that time, it was more of like a novelty trading item, almost like Pokemon cards. So I didn't really like take it seriously. And
What
then
was your first like reaction
like in
when someone
2014,
when someone sorry when the first time someone had brought up Bitcoin to you? What was your first reaction? Was it literally like, oh my god, this is Pokemon cards, and what are you guys doing? It's so silly.
well, like at first it was like really the fringe groups who were using it. So like I would say like the Uber nerds. So at first I was like, okay, this is like not something that's gonna be a big thing. But then it like just kept hanging around and like people who I'd like study with would talk about it, like, yo, have you heard about this like digital money thing? And then everyone would be like, yeah, I don't think it's like real or whatever. So there was like this big sentiment of it like being fake.
Yeah.
um, and I didn't really research into it because I was like so busy at the time, so I just never really got into it at that point in time. um, but then in like 2014 it was still around and I noticed like it went up quite a bit. It was like at $400 around this time. So I actually opened a Coinbase account and I bought like one Bitcoin. It's like $400 worth. But then right after I bought it, like the next day, it crashed to 200. So then
Oh
I was like
shit.
shaking out because
You're like,
I
what is
wasn't,
this? Why did I even get myself involved? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, all right, I'll like, drop this for now. But then in like 2016, I was like investing like in stocks and stuff, and I was trying to get like more returns. So then somehow like crypto came back up, like Bitcoin especially, and like at that time in 2016, it was really big in Korea. So like I don't know if you're familiar with like the kimchi premium. So that's when like it was so popular in Korea, people would pay a premium to buy Bitcoin.
Oh,
So like
really? I've never heard of this. Explain to me what the kimchi premium is.
so basically Korea, like their society is like super like bleeding edge. Like they had like
South
5G.
Korea.
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Korea.
Yeah.
Like they had like internet connection in the subway. This was way back then. Like and like in the US we barely had like 3G,
Yeah. Yeah.
working. So
Super
like
on top of it.
yeah, so they were super on top of all the tech stuff and they like adopted like the crypto market like massively. So the thing about Korea was like everyone's trying to buy it because like Koreans are like naturally very competitive. Like
Yeah.
that's just like their culture. So like everyone was trying to buy it and it was creating like this situation where um like the exchange would sell it to them at a premium. So like they'd have to pay extra for it. So
Okay.
it was super, super popular in 2016. And it was like so popular that I would literally wake up at like 4 a.m. and just trade like in the morning. And I'd make like,
Because of the time zones.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
like make like $3,000 a day, just like buying it in the morning and then selling it at
Wow.
noon.
That's
Um,
insane. And the
yeah.
kimchi premium, like it would get the naming came from the food kimchi. Is there a reason it's called the kimchi?
No, so it was just kind of like slang. So basically, the
Oh,
news media just like gave them that designation because
okay.
like everywhere else you were buying crypto, it was like fairly standard pricing. But then if you're in Korea, like the price was like abnormally high. So then
Wow.
everyone was like commenting on they call it the kimchi premium. So like the
Yeah.
Koreans were driving the market at that point in time.
Interesting. That's
So
fascinating. I actually didn't
so
know
yeah,
that.
I did pretty good for a while. I was like trading during work, which is like not a really good thing, but it was crazy. And then right after that, like the 2017 bull run kicked off. Oh, sorry. This is like the internet's like
I think it
cutting
lagged a
out.
little bit, but you're good. Yeah, go ahead. The 2017 bull run.
Yeah, so the bull run, like I kind of FOMOed in like massively, and I actually did pretty good. It's just that towards the end, yeah, sorry, the internet like lagged a bit. So like towards the end of the bull cycle, I sold, but then like the greed got to me and I bought right back in. So I
Oh
lost
no.
all my profit. But luckily I had all my capital. So it was like a good learning experience for me because after the bull run ended, I like devoted a lot of my effort to understanding like the crypto like industry, reading the white papers, understanding what Bitcoin is. So then I like fully committed to Bitcoin from then on, and I've just been doing pretty good.
So then you
So
became like a true Bitcoiner, a true believer. It
yeah,
I'm hoping that's what will happen. I know that there's so much excitement right now because of this rally that's happening, which is great. It's awesome. And I know it's wonderful for people that have been hodling for so long. But with all these newcomers that are coming, I really wonder like what the percentage of them that'll end up staying after the bull run, because those are the ones that will end up becoming the true Bitcoiners and the true believers. Because once the markets calm down, which eventually they always do, there will be a remaining portion after the hype, and those I think will be the people who will actually come in and start to learn and actually start to get into it. So it'll be exciting to welcome a whole new batch of Bitcoiners. It's exciting. I love that it's growing. So, how do you feel about, or how do you deal with the no coiner psychology? Actually, could you start off by explaining what no coiner psychology is, and then kind of telling me how you deal with it?
yeah. So this is like a problem for a lot of like crypto OG people in our industry. Like you and me are very like accustomed to, the value proposition that Bitcoin brings and like the technology and all that stuff. But
Right.
there's a lot of like mainstream like people, especially at least in my circle, that just don't understand like the tech side, like the digital aspect of like Bitcoin or crypto. So like the no coiner psychology, that's basically the mindset of them not like adopting it or being heavily resistant towards it. So like I'm still struggling with this issue like currently. Like how do you bring in a newcomer into the space and then also have them like do their due diligence and like do things properly so they don't like ruin their financial
Right.
like future.
Yeah. And
So like
I think a
sorry.
big part of it is that like the whole no coiner psychology of just not understanding the tech or maybe not believing in it. I think a huge part I keep telling people is like the easiest way to understand Bitcoin is if you're somebody that has very little to zero faith in the system initially. It's like the less faith you have in the system, the easier it is for you to actually understand not not just like the fact that you can make money off Bitcoin, but the actual value behind it, the technology behind it, how it's actually going to change everything. So yeah, it is a difficult thing to deal with.
Yeah, I think definitely coming back from like a software engineering background, it just makes sense to me. Like I can easily pick it up, understand like private keys, public keys, that kind of stuff. But like, the average person's not going to understand all that stuff. So like, I always try to like come up with analogies to explain things, like, cause that's like, I think the main issue is how do you like dumb it down somewhat that someone can easily understand things in layman's terms. So like
Yeah.
this problem, I, I call it like the Matrix problem. So have you seen the first movie, The Matrix?
Yeah.
It's basically everyone starts out as Neo, right? Like you're in the Matrix, which is like the fiat system, and then this
You have
white
no idea. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this white rabbit comes to your door with this like proposition. So you initially follow it, but then you get burned, right? So you're like skeptical of it. And then you're given this choice, like you take the red pill or the blue pill. And then you can go to Zion, which is like crypto, like loosely. That's the analogy that I have in my mind. So like if you take the blue pill, like there's no way to like turn someone like at that point. So I'm always trying to figure out like how can I have them take the red pill, because
Yeah.
now I see myself more as like Morpheus trying to bring them in, but if they don't like accept it, I can't unplug them because they're
Right.
it's not going to be. Like, so it's like, how do you unplug someone from the matrix? That's basically the problem
It's
that
true. Yeah, I agree.
I
The
feel
whole
like
orange
this
pill.
issue is
Yeah.
addressing.
And now it's the orange pill with Bitcoin. Um, it is difficult, and the best way you deal with that is just trying to kind of, like you said, is just explaining it in as simple as terms as possible, because you obviously know that not everybody in the world comes from like a computer science background or a technical background. So the best way to deal with it is to kind of like compare it to the matrix or compare it to other things that they might be able to understand, and then hopefully through that they're kind of like, oh, okay, light bulbs start going off.
Yeah, this is definitely like new to me too, because like at first I would just unplug people and just give them everything at once, and their brain would just kind of like shut down. So now, like you said, I just kind of give them like, the bite-sized pieces, and then I just give them the red pill, blue pill option, and then if they take the red pill, then I can supply them with more information and like kind of coach them or guide them along. But if they don't, then I just like drop it at that point because it's
Yeah,
not worth the effort.
that's fair. That makes
Honestly.
perfect sense, actually, and it kind of sums up my experience with a lot of people too. And what about the future of Bitcoin? What do you feel about it? What are you thinking? Obviously, we're in a very exciting time for Bitcoin, but talk to me
Yeah,
about what
dude,
the
I feel
future
like
is.
like I said, I'm Morpheus now, so I'm like fully into it. I'm like fully committed. So I'm very optimistic slash bullish about Bitcoin's future, especially with what's going on, like COVID and the money printing.
Yeah,
Just like the fundamentals are like super strong. The only like concerns I really have is just like the regulation side and how they're gonna like set up the tax laws, but those are kind of like minor like things really in the grand scheme of things.
yeah, especially in this country. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's fairly safe to say that Bitcoin will be the standard in the future.
You think the standard of spending and of money, or more so the standard as a store of value?
Yeah. So what I see is like Bitcoin becoming more of like a store of value, similar to gold, probably replacing it.
Yeah.
And then like the spending aspect, like the dollar, will be some sort of other crypto. It could be like Ethereum or maybe Ethereum killer like Polkadot or, but like that's kind of like way into the future. So I don't really know. So like all I know is that Bitcoin will be the value store standard.
Yeah.
So
No, I feel you. I think I tend to agree with that as well. I mean, it's for some people, I feel like it's very difficult to believe that, or to even imagine a world where we kind of like no longer use fiat, or this entire system kind of no longer exists. But again, I think it just depends on your how much faith you have in the system. I think the more you delve into like the economics of every country, and especially here, you just start to see like, oh, this solves all the issues, and we can actually have a real economic system, one that makes sense, one that doesn't involve, like you said, the printing of trillions of dollars, because we royally fucked up a pandemic that we probably should have been able to have under control so late into the century. So what about Bitcoin's price in the next few years? What do you plan to do when Bitcoin moons, if you believe that it'll moon in the next few years?
honestly, probably just chill. Like like recently I've been like learning about architecture slash the housing market because like let's face it, everyone does like the sketchy crypto math about their future gains. So like, what are you gonna do with your money? It's like, I don't know, but I'll probably not like go buy a Lambo. That's kind of like seems um, um so yeah, maybe build a quality house or travel a bit once COVID comes down, but nobody really knows for sure. I need to have the money in hand first before
Yeah,
like
before all of that happens. And anyway, I think we can safely say the value of a Bitcoin will continue to rise, and it's like, if you're young, why not hold until
yeah,
you
honestly,
absolutely
like
have to let it go? And you'll get more bang for your buck that way.
yeah, it like melts my brain sometimes doing like the math on my TI-84 calculator because it's like, what? This doesn't even make any sense. It's
Yeah.
so absurd, but I mean, it's truly like a generational wealth type event, like that you're missing out on if I mean, like hypothetically, right? Like the asymmetric upside is just like ridiculous, like to
Yeah.
not put your feet in the water. But yeah.
Yeah. I agree. There's a lot of that. And it was, I think for me, 2020 and the whole, this entire bull run, it kind of created a new feeling in me towards Bitcoin, in that before all of this, I was kind of a little bit more, I don't want to say I was more pro Bitcoin than I am now, because I'm still there. I'm still a Bitcoiner, but I think that I had this belief that it was like, oh, finally there's a chance for maybe the underdogs or the people that in some way or another were screwed by the system. And it was in a sense a kind of hope, which sounds a little silly, but it's all backed up by like very logical and rational mathematical stuff. But now that all the institutions and the banks are in it, I'm like, wait, all the wrong people are getting into it. In a sense, like in a way, it's great because they're kind of like showing the value of Bitcoin. So it's like, it's great. But then at the same time, I kind of have this like love-hate relationship with their desire to buy more Bitcoin, because I'm like, it's for the little guys. It's for the people that kind of, that you've been screwing over all these years. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of controversy to that, because like, I think initially it started off as like leveling the playing field, but like you said, now that institutional players are getting in, it's kind of like all the money is like still with like the rich or 1%. But the way that I see it is more like a reset. So like if you get in like early, before or during the reset, then you can like make pretty good like off of everything, and then it's gonna like re-corrupt itself, like, because like human beings are flawed by nature, like greed and corruption.
Sure.
So like I'm sort of pessimistic about like the proposition that like there'll be no more wars and all that kind of stuff. Like,
I don't think that's gonna happen. We're
yeah.
still human. We're still human. We're not ones and zeros yet. Yeah.
So, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I guess we can try to be hopeful. Maybe with us going to Mars, there will be less wars, or maybe more wars. I don't know. And if Elon starts mining gold in outer space,
right.
the fuck knows what's gonna happen. So now we get to the fun part of our talk, and I want to know, what are you reading right now? Any interesting books?
Yeah, it's funny. Like now I have like time to read, and I've been reading a lot of books. So I've read like 3 wealth management books recently. I
Nice.
just finished the Bitcoin Standard. Actually, it's like really good. I don't know why I haven't read it like earlier, but yeah, I definitely recommend that for anybody that's
Getting
interested
started.
in
Yeah.
like Bitcoin at all. And then currently I'm reading this book called Foundation. It's like a sci-fi book. I think Apple TV is making a movie about it
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I actually have not read the Bitcoin Standard. I believe I started it and then I never actually ended up finishing it. So I'm definitely on that list of people that should be doing that. I'm currently reading The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is about the Federal Reserve. So that's awesome.
Cool.
It's a good one. It's a thick book. Let me show it to you. It's a big book.
About like the fractional reserve banking system and all that.
Yeah, it's by Edward Griffin, or G. Edward Griffin, and it's a second look at the Federal Reserve. So he starts off by kind of just talking about how the Federal Reserve started, and then the whole Rothschild story. So it's great. I mean, I think that's one of the main things for anybody who's getting into Bitcoin, is understanding the banking system, the history of money, how the Federal Reserve started, central banks. Again, we're supposed to be in a massive economic collapse, but we're not, because the central banks are out here getting involved. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and be a chief economist and say how good or bad that is, but I think we can all.
No, that's definitely a good thing to like get people to question their reality, because a lot of people just accept like the Keynesian economic standard or modern monetary theory. So it's like, if you ask them basic questions like, where does your money come from? What is inflation? Most people just like shut down and be like, eh.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
so
I don't want to know. Leave me alone. And it's like, yeah. And I think a big part of it is because like for so long, everybody that's managed money and Wall Street on all these banks they've turned it into this thing that nobody can understand. And they've kind of put a veil on it, and they've said that it's complicated, and they use big words and they speak really fast. But then it's like, if you just like pick up a book or you watch a YouTube video, you can learn everything those guys know. That's the funny part, is it's like, it's actually not rocket science, and anybody can do it, but there's an image, if they make you perceive it as this difficult thing. And one of my biggest hopes for our generation and the younger generations is that they start to include more financial knowledge in the schooling system, because it's just such a shame that, we don't know the
I
most
think there's
basic
a
thing.
trend towards like personal finance, especially like all the Robinhood. You have heard like the Wall Street bet, like manipulation of GameStop. Like I feel
Yeah,
like it's like trending for younger people to just like start investing. So I think yeah, just people will naturally will like get drawn into it. And then also with like the 2020 COVID and
yeah,
everyone losing their jobs and all the money issues, like people are saving more. So yeah,
it's
it just
true.
makes sense.
It's true. Yeah, no, and the GameStop you mentioned just now, GameStop and all the teenagers kind of jacking it up on Robinhood, which is amazing. And it's funny because I think there have been some people who have been long GameStop for like the past 2 to 3 years, when it was everyone was like, "What are you talking about?" So it's fun and funny to see that. And then yeah, like you said, there's COVID as a pandemic, and I saw this meme the other day. It was like, um, it's that meme of Ben Affleck standing outside, like smoking a cigarette, really like stressed out and tired, and it's like millennials going through their third like crisis. It's like there was like the internet crisis, and then the financial crisis, and now COVID, and it's all been just in like the span of our lives. It's like almost every decade there's like a massive global event. So there's no way that people won't start turning to questioning, like you said, the reality and how this all kind of came to be.
Yep,
Yeah.
very true.
So are there any interesting new or young crypto projects that you're excited about that you'd like to share or talk about?
I mean, I'm more of an OG Bitcoin guy, but like, I guess some of the projects that interest me are projects that address like the scaling issue. So it could be like Ethereum or like Polkadot or Cardano. But honestly, I kind of have like this ICO vibe from them because it's just
Mm,
so new
yeah,
that I just need to wait a little bit and see like who can reach the technical solution first and validate everything. So I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, in
nice.
regards to new crypto projects.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm hoping that I'll get someone on to speak about the Polkadot parachains, because that's again the scaling issue. And I think we can all agree that now when we look at crypto, Bitcoin, everything in blockchain, it's kind of like, remember the dial-up days when and you'd get online. It's like it's kind of where we are, but I feel like we've been in this like in that space for a couple years now with blockchain. So it'll be exciting once we start to make some progress, and then I feel like it'll just be that's when we'll start to moon, I guess. All right, well, let's finish off with where can people find you and follow you online?
Yeah, so people can follow my YouTube channel Piddler in the Root. It's a IoT tech channel about the Raspberry Pi.
Nice.
So yeah,
Cool.
over there.
Okay, great. I have the link to that, and I'll link that to the description in the YouTube channel over here. So awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. It was great having you on CryptoPunks on Zoom drinking coffee. And we'll
Yeah,
speak soon.